Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special Friday bonus edition. I can't say I'm going to do Friday bonuses every Friday, but sometimes I will. And considering that this Friday is November 11th, 2022, I wanted to do a little something special. So, pretty much everybody knows this as Veterans Day, which, of course, salute to the veterans, those folks who do anything that we ask them for. And we're not going to talk about who asked them to do what and why. That's not what we're here for today. But I do want to just put that out there to all the people who, are selfless in that way. But I also want to make sure that we remember the real reason behind why we celebrate. Well, celebrate's not even the right word, right? It's hard to say that in the same connective way. Celebrate. Remember it, right? Because the First World War ended November 11th at 11:11. The 11th day at the 11th hour, the 11th minute. And it put an end to basically what amounts to just senseless murdering of human beings by imperial overlords, which is really what I've come to see. They didn't care at the time of the First World War. They didn't have to care about us. They had absolutely no intentions of caring about anyone's life, and it was almost seen by most of the soldiers in World War I as it was just sort of what they were going to do for their country, is go up there, go over the top, and die. And it was an incredible time for Europe from 1914 to 1918. Just destruction wrought all of these battlefields. But, the United States didn't get involved until 1917, like April 1917. And it said that 4.7 million men and women served in the regular U.S. forces, National Guard, draft units, was like 2.8 million serving overseas. And then you got to remember of that huge number that went over there, of those who were in the danger zone, we got 53,000 killed in action. I guess 53,400 by this site. And you had 63,000 deaths from like disease, the Spanish flu and other things. 200,000 wounded. 205,000 wounded. Something. All these numbers are, they are what they are. They're not, you can't really be too accurate with it because, the reporting methods and all of that. But we're just talking about here, the United States forces that, of course, the United States got involved. Woodrow Wilson was adamant about staying out of the war, but we ended up getting involved because of this submarine warfare that the Germans decided to unleash, and that happened to start hammering our ships or ships with Americans on them. And boom, there you go. We got 4 million about to be up your ass or something, And it's just an incredible thing that we want to give a day to cheeseburgers, and we want to give a day to, whatever. It's National Cheeseburger and Pizza Day, and it's National Grilled Cheese Day. Do we need to take over like Armistice Day so that we can gloss over it and not have another day devoted to just veterans specifically? I don't see why that's necessary. I'm a proponent of history, and I know that this probably isn't this isn't any fun. This isn't fun. What I'm saying right now, but the deal is It doesn't need to be fun, you know. But it's just a look back, because if you don't know anything about the First World War, go check it out. I mean, this was the estuary between the old world and the new world. The old world went to battle in shades blue and red and green, and modern warfare showed them that's just not how war is fought anymore. It's just not. It's over. And the generalship, the royalty, the high up leaders who just refuse to back down from fighting and just grinding men up for no reason, causing this, most of these men were very similar. The only reason they were out there fighting each other was because their factions had said that it was their time to do it. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this too, where I don't think that there's ever going to be a generation again that could stand up and do their duty like this, because just throwing them away is basically what it was. Like, there was no tactic. It just kind of, they were trying to do what they knew how to do. But the new technologies had just changed that. And once the United States got involved, well, that was just more than old Germany could take. You don't come out the other side of the turnip winter too good. If the populace is starving, trying to keep the starving military active, yeah, you're out of luck. But there's so many people in the world who are affected by this war, and I really think that it's worth paying attention to. Specifically paying attention to what the First World War was. Because it changed, not only did it change the world, but it changed America fundamentally. I mean, all of a sudden you have all these veterans, that return home after the war is over, and, all the wounded, and they come back and they live amongst us. They're our family members, they're our ancestors. Even, there's people who own horses out there. Well, think about this. It's possible that in the lineage of the horses that you have on your property, it's possible that they could have had, they could have been over there. Their ancestry could have served in the First World War. This is something that I like to point out, too, about the First World War, is that there were millions of horses in active duty out there pulling guns, riding around. They're just getting killed, because horses at this point have been shown to be an outdated technology. Because in warfare, just because they're soft, and I always feel bad for horses that are mistreated, because those horses always did what we told them to do. And, there were veterans, the same, the horses, often they were counted as casualties. But it's kind of something that isn't in today's mind. And it was only, 100 years plus ago. It really wasn't that long ago that men were riding horseback into battle. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time and shine a little light on what's happening here. Why the world is today the way it is because of the First World War. Just absolutely, without a doubt, the world is what it is today because of the First World War. In 4 years, the world had been permanently changed. You've gone from a mass hysteria celebration of 1914 when the wars began and people were, you know, ushering off their fine young men to go, and then once the actual war starts, everyone is no longer enthusiastic about it. The death toll is so incredibly high, people don't even know what to think about it. It brought the end, like I said, the use of horses in combat. It brought the beginnings of things like camouflage. Yeah, camouflage. Gray uniforms as opposed to blue or red. Bright red pants. Because the world is just different now. Because of the new technologies that have come about. The world is different now. And as that war progressed, it showed how different warfare has become because of the industrialization of the world and the abilities of nations to fight against each other because they have these incredible networks. And back then, they were just under the development stage. Think about it. Trucks were not very big yet. That's why they were still using horses. The tank was invented to try to get across the trenches and save, lives, because you just can't walk into machine gun fire. No matter how many times they tried to do it, it just never worked. It brought American involvement in a war abroad, which, of course, we would be back. And I'm not saying that it's like right or wrong or anything. I'm not saying anything about any of that. All I'm saying is that it is a grave injustice to just celebrate all the veterans on this day. Not that the veterans don't deserve that, because they absolutely do. And, but I just want to... It shouldn't be glossed over, this war. We should all remember what the First World War brought us, because it brought us into the modern era. It sloughed off the ways of the old, because the new is coming by wheel of machine. And by the end of World War I, we had proto-World War II armies. And it was just an armistice. And kind of everyone knew that it wasn't going to last forever. And then it just, of course, because the technologies were better, got even worse in 1944. When we got involved and the Second World War was raging. But, there would be no Second World War if the first one didn't go as it did. And, one of the biggest reasons why I want to bring this up is because as a kid, when I was brought up in the, public schools, nobody ever said anything about the First World War. Oh, everybody knew about the Second World War because there's plenty of glory there because we kicked some Nazis' ass, and put a stop to the Japanese who were doing incredibly horrible things. There's plenty of glory to be had in the Second World War, and mostly well-deserved. But war is terrible, and glory is not really what people should be after. But I don't think that the First World War is talked about enough. And it's because there is no glory there on any side. Just many, 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 many thousands of dead. Battlefields just covered with them from months and years of fighting. And those battlefields still exist today almost, the grass has maybe grown over them and everything, but they still are out there, cratered moonscapes that are dangerous to be in because of the amount of shells that were dropped on those places. Many of them didn't explode, and it's possible that they still have gas or could be explosive. There's everything to be found. Many, many, many thousands of soldiers still lay there where they were lost. And many of them were just ground to nothing. So these things that I've learned about the First World War were never, ever taught to me in any way. I don't know why. I don't think why is important. But if you don't know about the First World War, hey, go check it out. Because there's some great movies these days that are coming out. But if you read the literature of people who went through that, Tolkien was a soldier in the First World War that probably had an effect on the way he wrote. But of course it wasn't. He professed that it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it. It was just, this is the story that he wrote. But he was a soldier in that war, so it affected the way that he wrote, and the armies that marched, and the fighting. All's Quiet on the Western Front. I just saw the remake of that on Netflix. I thought it pretty good, depiction. I didn't, it didn't really follow the story, but that story, All's Quiet on the Western Front, was a novel that was written by a man who did serve in the Western Front in the German army, and then wrote a novel about it when he got back. He wanted to describe the German soldiers day in and day out and plight. I would say, actually, the old movie is a really good watch, too. It's on my shelf, All's Quiet on the Western Front, because the people who really did the suffering were like those guys. They were the lowest people on the totem pole. They were just out there fighting and dying in the mud, in the muck, and some didn't even get to fight and die. They just got stuck in the mud, is how bad it was. Humans are very incredibly resistant, proficient, efficient creatures, and we can survive incredibly small odds and regenerate after being wounded to a grand degree. We're strong creatures, and World War I was when the strongest of generations that time frame could produce in 1914 of Europe, and the strongest that we, brought from America and took over there. Think about all of those good people who died, who may have had lives, and how our world would be changed by the innovations that they may have come up with. It goes deeper, and I think the ripples will probably never stop, because our current industrial and modern processes are due to the way we developed through the warring that we've done. And it pretty much all started right there in the First World War. And maybe you could say the American Civil War, but the machine gun hadn't progressed very far in the American Civil War, and when that was introduced, you get World War I. And then you have the infrastructure to support World War I. And, that's history. We're going World War II after Korea. Hey, I'm not, okay. I'm off subject now. But I wanted to do a Friday bonus episode. Hooray! Hey, happy Armistice Day, because the war is over. And, if you have veterans in your life, hey, make sure and go talk to them about it. And, just remember the sacrifices that a lot of people have made because they thought it was the right thing to do. Not because they were ordered to do it or where they got those orders from. No, because they said they would do it, and they thought it was the right thing to do, and they believed in it, and some gave the ultimate price. for that. And, it's like, I don't want to put any political spin on this. I just want to say that there are spirits out there that are that kind. They're warrior spirits. That's just what they have in them. They want to fight, and they'll go out and put their lives on the line for whatever country that they're from. And we have to do better as a society to make sure we protect people like that and don't put them in harm's way for no reason, or for reasons that are of, avarice, greedy reasons. Okay, I'm way off base now. Anyway, hey, thanks for listening. This has been your Friday bonus episode. And I'm James Manning III. And you can always send me an email at jm3e.pod@gmail.com. jm3e.pod@gmail.com. Yeah, James Manning III Entertainment. Everybody, thanks for listening. Send me an email if you want me to do a Friday bonus something. All right, later.